Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Rockin' Royal. Rockin' Navy.
Welcome back to another edition of Rockin' Royal, the podcast about BYU on the KSL.com podcast network. I'm Sione Moa, your BYU beat writer, talking football today as BYU football opens training camp for the upcoming 2024 season. The Cougars second in the Big 12. And we're going to talk a lot about a lot of positions. Obviously, the quarterback competition is front of mind between Jake Retzlaff and Gary Bohannon, and there are definitely some thoughts out there. And liked what I saw also on the first day of training camp out of Trayson Bourget and McKay Hillstead in particular, that backup spot. So shout out to those guys as well. But we got to start with the hard news that's trickled out over the last 24, 36 hours. Slowly but surely, it is now official. BYU linebacker Ben Bywater will miss the 2024 season due to a lingering shoulder injury about midway through the 2023 campaign. He tried to come back. He's gone through physical therapy. He's had surgery. But it turns out there's some nerve damage in there and some other things that just aren't healing right. And Ben Bywater's college football career is done. He confirmed it right after practice. He was there. He was not participating. He showed up in street clothes rather than pads. The BYU football career of one of the best leaders on this Cougar football team, I think, to say nothing of the fact that he's the Cougars' active career leading tackler. It's officially over. So a big loss for the BYU defense, which was going to need a player like Ben Bywater going into year two under Jay Hill, in my opinion. And there's no other way to cut it. It hurts. It's not good. It's not ideal. It's rough. But you also understand why Ben ultimately feels like he has to make this decision. It's not one that he took lightly. He agonized over it for weeks and even months, and it just came down to the fact that he wasn't getting medically cleared. He wasn't going to get medically cleared, and he needs to try to get healthy either for his next chapter or potentially for a shot at the NFL. He didn't totally rule that out with us in the media when he met with us. There is a possibility he could still try for the NFL, but his days in college football are done. So I wanted to turn the page a little bit and look at where BYU stands in that middle linebacker position. I caught up with middle linebacker Harrison Taggart a little bit after practice, literally moments after Bywater confirmed the news that he was medically retiring from college football due to that shoulder injury. And we talked a decent amount about kind of Bywater's impact and his legacy and other things. And I think Harry Taggart is a guy that BYU is going to look to fill a lot of the roles and a lot of the missing snaps that they now have to replace in the middle of that defense. He's the 6'3" Oregon transfer is in his second year in Jay Hill's defense, and he kind of jumped in with just fully clothed, with both feet. He committed to BYU from Oregon as sort of a homecoming. He's a Corner Canyon High alum last June. And so he didn't have a full offseason. He barely had a summer, really, to get used to his new team. Coming into Provo, coming home to Provo, like I mentioned. Still managed to play in 12 games, 4 starts, double-digit tackles on the season, all while learning that defense on the fly. I think there could be an even bigger step incoming for Harry Taggart. And I know BYU defensive coaches certainly hope so as well. He's one of the big names that's going to be counted on to try to fill in for Ben Bywater. Beyond Taggart, you've got a guy like former 4-star freshman Siale Esera, who showed some flashes last year, the 4-star recruit out of Tenview High School, had 19 tackles, a tackle for loss, and you may remember his first play of his Division I career was an interception, I believe it was. So Siale obviously spent a little bit of time injured last year as well. He is expected to be back and healthy for this BYU defense. He could be relied on significantly to fill in for some snaps in the absence of Ben Bywater. And then there are also guys like Sione Moa, who's now moving back from defensive end and edge rusher back to linebacker. He could see some increased snaps. His brother Sione, I think, played some middle linebacker before he transferred from Utah State to BYU, so I think that's another name to keep an eye on for sure. A lot of fans are going to look at Weber State transfer Jack Kelly. I think Zach Kelly, as Wildcat fans, got to know him over the last couple of years, is definitely going to see a lot of reps. He's a little bit more of a pass rush specialist than I think Bywater was. So I don't know how much middle linebacker he could be playing, but he's got the build, he's got the body type. He could see some time there. Certainly there will be a lot of reps coming Zach Kelly's way, I think. And then the other name I think is really important to keep an eye on is Shea Bryant Strother. He's the younger brother of former BYU basketball star Elijah Bryant, transferring into BYU from UCLA after playing in 32 games over 4 years for the Bruins last year. He had 10 tackles, 3 tackles for loss of sack, and a fumble recovery. The former 4-star recruit from the greater Atlanta area in 2023. And his production hasn't always been there, but he does have experience. He's been in a power conference program for 4 seasons, and you can't put a price tag on something like that, especially when trying to replace the leadership skills of one Ben Bywater. So those are just a couple of names I think to keep an eye on as we go through the next month of training camp and BYU jumps into the season. August 31st, that opener against FCS foe Southern Illinois. We will get a better look at this Cougar linebacker core as it progresses through the next month and into the start of the 2024 season. But on that note, let's get to our conversation with Harrison Taggart, the former Corner Canyon star, now at BYU by way of Oregon. I caught up with him along with Daily Herald BYU beat writer Jared Lloyd and Kevin Reynolds of the Salt Lake Tribune. So those are the other voices that you're going to hear on there to talk to Harry Taggart about Ben Bywater, about his new role stepping into the 2024 season. And we started with what the loss of an electric player like Bywater really means to this BYU defense.
You know, it's devastating. Ben was a huge part of the team, massive leader. I mean, everybody knows Ben Bywater. He's been here for however 6 years, 5 years. He's been here forever. Everybody knows Ben Bywater. He was up for the Buckus Award. Ben's a huge leader. This year he took us all boating. He took us up to his cabin. Just a great guy. And, yeah, we're going to have to figure out what we do without him, but love the guy.
Was this decision kind of a surprise to you in the room, or did you kind of see that he wasn't really fully there health-wise, that it might be trending in this direction?
No, it surprised me. It's ultimately Ben's decision. It surprised me. I lifted with Ben the whole offseason.
What does that do for you now? What role do you feel like you need to? Because obviously you're going to need a lot of guys to step in and fill, Ben's shoes, leadership-wise, on-field-wise. How do you see yourself in that aspect?
I definitely would like to push myself to become a better leader on the team. Help rally the guys when times get rough. That's where I see my role getting pushed to. But everybody's got to work for it. We're first day of fall camp. It's competition from here on out.
From a football perspective, where's kind of the biggest thing you focused on this offseason getting ready for this year?
This offseason, pass coverage. Okay. I feel like that was an area I need to improve on. Whether it was just getting footwork down or in the film room, pass coverage was a huge part of my improvement this offseason.
How much of sorry, Sean. Okay. I just was curious, how much of a part of that is just getting another year in Jay's system and understanding the coverages better? Is that a big part of where pass coverage develops for you?
It's a huge part. Knowing all the ins and outs and the pieces and everything that's going on around you. Super important for knowing. It's just nice to know what other things going on around you.
kind of building off of that, how big has this offseason been for you? Because, I mean, this time last year you were brand new coming in from Oregon, and you jumped right in, feet wet, hair on fire in a lot of ways. But have you kind of felt yourself just feel a little bit more acclimated, a little more adapted to the system, to the school, to everything else this offseason?
It's awesome having an offseason in the same program, because my first season was with Oregon, right? So I was learning a system then. Then my second season was with BYU, learning a system then. So it really is awesome building off of what we built last year, and I'm really excited. I feel like all the guys were hungry from last year, so I'm really excited.
Did you ever feel like you got your feet fully under you last year, or was it all just coming so fast that it took like kind of an off season almost to feel really comfortable in this system?
You know, switching to the Big 12 was a huge step for BYU, and I think it was the best move for BYU. I mean, you see all the media, you see the branding, you see all that stuff. I felt like it was all coming fast, but yeah.
What's year 2 of Jay Hill's defense? I mean, what's kind of just a generic overview of what can we expect? What can we expect? Because it feels like we've heard a lot over this offseason that year 1 and year 2 totally different. Like, guys just feel better, they understand a little better. Like, what's kind of the biggest difference, do you think, just generically? Mentality's huge, and then just speed, effort, everything. It's all mental. So I feel like mentality, we're coming at it way differently than we did the year before.
Yeah. Talk specific objectives. Day 1 of fall camp, like you said, there's a lot of fall camp in front of you.
Yeah.
What needs to happen over these next few weeks?
Brotherhood. Like, that was one of our main topics, was becoming brothers, you know, coming along with the guy next to you. So really becoming brothers with the guy next to you, so you know, like, this guy's got my back no matter what happens.
How do you guys address kind of the pass rush and improving the pass rush this year, and how much is the linebacker group a part of that effort in year 2?
You know, we've got tons of improvement in the pass rush. We've got Coach Kohaha from UCLA. He's huge on the pass rush, and really the whole offseason, that was another huge thing that the linebackers dialed in, is when we do our individual work, when we go to a park, when we just be messing around, we'd always be hitting a little jab step or something, you know. So.
For sure. Rock your hands. Rockabye babies, rock the stands with the fans. If you with us, raise your hands. Rockabye baby, rockin' Navy. Shout out to my teams, wives and babies. Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me? Let's get it, baby. Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me? Let's get it, baby. We going long like a cougar tail. Defense hitting hard like some seashells. Getting to the green, I ain't talking kale. Boy, that team up north, man, but oh well. We getting jiggy.